Lively filed a motion to dismiss Justin Baldoni's lawsuit against her. As we know, he sued her and Ryan Reynolds for $400 million.
Blake Lively has stunned everyone with a shocking request in her legal showdown against Justin Baldoni.
She filed this in federal court in New York, and now she's trying to apply California law to get this dismissed.
Insiders say she's trying to fast-track a potential dismissal of his defamation and civil extortion claims. But here's the twist. The real reason might have less to do with pure legal strategy and more to do with protecting certain sensitive details from ever seeing the light of day.
Lively vehemently denies in the doc extorting the director, stating those claims arise out of the exact same categories of protected speech that fail to support defamation.
In her motion to dismiss, she makes bold references to California's sexual harassment privileges. Yet rumor has it, there's an even bigger puzzle piece behind why she's so determined to end this battle before it escalates to open court fireworks.
This story just continues to go on and on and on. I don't think any of us thought that we were going to be here originally last August.
Some are calling her demands extraordinary, claiming she wants to block specific depositions and hush any embarrassing communications that could unravel her carefully curated image.
The LA Times says that Lively's attorneys argue that Baldoni's claims could be dismissed under Assembly Bill 933.
Could it be that she's concerned about text messages or behind-the-scenes recordings that might surface? Or is it purely about hammering home that she's a victim of workplace retaliation with zero tolerance for a massive legal brawl? Today, we're diving headfirst into the real story behind Blake's legal gambit. Then, we'll walk through her claims, Justin Baldoni's counterattack, and all the swirling controversies that have turned this lawsuit into Hollywood's most explosive legal feud.
The law now expressly prohibits suing victims who make the decision to speak out against SH.
But that's just the start. Buckle up, because after we've dissected the surprising request fueling Blake's motion, we'll break down the entire fiasco using newly surfaced documents, contradictory testimony, and insider chatter about the downfall of a project that was once poised to be Colleen Hoover's biggest on-screen triumph. Let's get started.
California law now expressively prohibits suing victims who makes the decision to speak out against SH or retaliation.
In a jaw-dropping turn of events, Blake Lively is pushing a specific angle to get Justin Baldoni's lawsuit tossed, citing a newly enacted law in California that's meant to protect alleged sexual harassment victims from retaliatory lawsuits.
Further claims that under California law, she is firmly protected by each of the litigation fair report and SH privileges. Therefore, Baldoni does not have a right to sue her.
She's also tossing around words like litigation privilege, fair report, and fee shifting, aiming to prove that she has full legal authority to speak her mind. Yet critics whisper that she might be hiding behind these rules. To sidestep deeper scrutiny into how she handled It Ends With Us, from script changes to press fiascos, this development raises one central question. Is her motion a genuine pursuit of justice, or is it a cunning move to avoid potential blowback? Court documents reveal that Blake Lively filed a formal motion to dismiss Justin Baldoni's defamation and civil extortion claims, painting them as baseless. She insists he's punishing her for calling out alleged workplace retaliation and sexual harassment during the filming of It Ends With Us. According to her attorneys, this entire lawsuit is nothing more than a malicious tactic to silence an actress who dared to speak out. They point to California Civil Code Section 47.1, nicknamed AB 933, which aims to protect individuals who share sexual harassment allegations publicly or in court. In a statement tied to her motion, Blake's legal team blasts Baldoni's accusations as retaliatory and claims the law is on her side. They say there's no place in federal court for a lawsuit that punishes someone for highlighting questionable on-set behavior, especially an actress with enough star power to draw national headlines. They vow that if the judge grants her request to dismiss, Baldoni might end up paying more than just her attorney fees. He could be slapped with punitive damages, too. Baldoni's critics view all this as a strategic move to bury evidence of what truly went down on set. But if you ask Blake's defenders, they'll say she's only seeking the protection guaranteed to her under California law. This begs the question, if she's confident in her innocence, why request a swift dismissal so urgently? Her attorneys argue it's about setting an example, letting future victims know they're safe to speak up. Skeptics, however, see it as a cunning plan to keep the spotlight from shining on alleged behind-the-scenes chaos. Before we dive deeper into the heart of Blake's surprising request, let's break down a competitor's transcript that's been buzzing around. This vantage point offers a behind-the-scenes look at the swirl of motions, replies, and legal back and forth saturating the docket. According to that coverage, Blake Lively's request to dismiss highlights a specific law aimed at protecting harassment whistleblowers from defamation suits. She's leaning heavily on the notion that her public statements about Baldoni's alleged behavior were free speech and cannot be grounds for a countersuit. Her side claims it's a sacred principle, shielding her from the financial ruin of a high-profile trial. Critics point out that she's essentially using a technical approach to argue that the defamation allegations lack the specificity required to move forward. The competitor's transcript also suggests that if Baldoni can prove her allegations were made with actual malice, or that she intentionally fabricated them to cause him harm, she might lose these privileges. But that's no small hurdle. Courts rarely dismiss such lawsuits outright without letting them pass through discovery, where evidence is hashed out in detail. You might be asking, how does a motion to dismiss actually work? In federal civil litigation, a motion to dismiss can argue things like insufficient service of process, lack of jurisdiction, or, most commonly, that the plaintiff fails to state a valid claim. Essentially, if the judge decides Baldoni's complaint doesn't meet legal standards, even assuming all his allegations are true, the judge can toss it out. Yet the competitor's coverage highlights a subtlety. Proving actual malice is generally a question of fact, requiring depositions and evidence. Judges are reluctant to toss a case pre-discovery if the plaintiff has at least some plausible foundation. So if Baldoni's attorneys show that Blake's statements might have been reckless or false, the motion to dismiss might not fly. One especially intriguing nugget from the competitor's transcript is the alleged contradiction between Blake's stance and that of her co-defendants, Ryan Reynolds, Leslie Sloan, or others in her orbit. Sometimes Ryan Reynolds claims, "We never published anything publicly," while Blake's team retorts that oral statements absolutely do count as publication. Observers see cracks forming. If each side tries a different defense, it could weaken the overall argument that none of them have done anything wrong. Critics also mention how Blake is simultaneously claiming, "I said nothing actionable," but then turning around and stating, "Even if I did, it's barred by the statute of limitations." That contradictory approach can appear more tactical than sincere. If she truly believes she did nothing wrong, why mention the time limit? That's the question fueling more doubt about her motives. Blake's team anchors their defense in what some are calling the #MeToo defense, arguing that new laws protect survivors from vengeful suits. They highlight how chilling it would be if every victim faced the risk of a massive defamation case, simply for sharing painful experiences. This resonates for many who recall how historically, women in Hollywood were pressured to stay silent about abuse. However, the competitor's transcript emphasizes that if Baldoni can show even a hint of malicious intent, for instance, that Blake deliberately weaponized allegations to overshadow her own negative press or shift blame for behind-the-scenes fiascos, the law might not save her. Judges rarely grant sweeping immunity if there's suspicion that the speech in question was knowingly false or recklessly disregarded the truth. What's so surprising about Blake's request? According to leaked rumors, the big shocker in Blake's motion is that she's not just seeking a routine dismissal, she's also requesting special protective orders that would seal certain depositions and keep certain on-set communications under wraps. Observers say she's going beyond the typical, "I want this lawsuit gone" territory, straight into, "I want to ensure no piece of evidence sees daylight." Her attorneys claim this is necessary to protect her from further harm. Critics argue it's about controlling the narrative and keeping any messy details, like alleged contradictory statements about the movie's editing process or alleged manipulations with the press, from coming up in court. On the flip side, Justin Baldoni contends that Blake's motion to dismiss proves only one thing. She's desperate to dodge accountability. He insists her claims of a smear campaign are illusions. He says she's twisting legal protections meant for true victims to recast his legitimate grievances as pure retaliation. If you ask his lawyers, they'll tell you that she's the one who bullied her way into controlling the film's production, overshadowing other voices in the process, then crying harassment when things didn't go her way. Baldoni also points out that her approach lumps real survivors and potential false claimants into one bucket. He maintains that if someone levels accusations purely to deflect blame or tarnish reputations, they shouldn't hide behind #MeToo statutes. Tellingly, his legal team frames the entire fiasco as Lively's attempt to fix her own damaged image following the disastrous It Ends With Us press tour, an angle that might gain traction if the court allows deeper discovery. The competitor's transcript references a labyrinth of court filings from all sides: Blake, Baldoni, Leslie Sloan, Ryan Reynolds, and others. We see repeated references to a 17-point document, or protections for return to production, apparently containing Blake's demands during filming. She claims it included disclaimers about alleged inappropriate behavior, while Baldoni says it was a manipulative blueprint, giving her final say over editing, marketing, and press angles. What's especially revealing is how Blake and her co-defendants keep challenging whether any publication occurred. They argue that defamation requires them to have aired false statements to at least one third party. Did that happen on social media? Did it happen in a press leak? She tries to brush it off as if she only spoke to the parties directly. Meanwhile, Baldoni counters that she not only repeated these false allegations in on-set gatherings, but also fed them to the New York Times, as evidenced by the Times referencing behind-the-scenes documents that no one else had seen. The competitor's transcript elaborates on how the Times published an article titled, "We Can Bury Anyone," which heavily cited details from Blake's official complaint. The actress apparently gave them a stack of documents, fueling a narrative that Baldoni and his production team engaged in a sinister campaign to ruin her. She frames it as her right to blow the whistle on a culture of harassment. Baldoni calls it a malicious press offensive aimed at controlling the public narrative after the film faced pushback for ignoring certain social issues. Now, Blake's motion to dismiss lumps that entire fiasco under fair report privileges, basically claiming the press has a right to cover lawsuits. If she shared legal documents with reporters, that might be protected. The question is whether she misrepresented the content or made statements beyond the scope of the official complaint. If Baldoni can show she gave them extra spin or outright lies that might upend her fair report shield. According to the competitor's transcript, there's a big fight over dates. Blake's attorneys say any alleged defamation happened well before January 17, 2024, past the one-year statute of limitations. They argue Baldoni's lawsuit comes too late. Yet Baldoni's side calls that timeline nonsense, pointing out that the press meltdown and alleged false statements kept rolling out. They highlight how she demanded certain concessions as late as early 2024, reading from that 17-point list in front of entire teams, presumably continuing the so-called smear campaign right up until lawsuits started flying. This timeline puzzle will likely demand more evidence. Did Blake speak publicly about these accusations after the key date? Or is she correct that her last major statements fall outside the statutory window? The competitor's coverage suggests it won't be easy for the court to sort out without letting both sides gather more proof. Did Blake weaponize the court process? Among all these technical arguments, a central theme emerges. Was Blake Lively sincerely addressing workplace harassment? Or was she cynically using it as a deflection tactic against criticism? Some see her as a champion for survivors, shining light on alleged wrongdoing. Others paint her as orchestrating a scheme to muzzle negative press about her involvement in the film's marketing fiasco, particularly complaints from fans who felt she downplayed serious issues like domestic violence. The competitor's transcript also notes that fans personally attacked her after she publicly minimized the subject matter in the movie, leading to a wave of social media backlash. She now claims Justin Baldoni amplified that backlash through a smear campaign, while he insists fans were organically venting. The question is, does that qualify as defamation, or is it simply a star dealing with legitimate criticism of how she promoted the film? Many watchers say this lawsuit, if it heads to discovery, could blow open everything from private text messages to on-set recordings, burying multiple reputations. If the judge grants Blake's surprising request to dismiss, none of that evidence will come out. People suspect that's precisely why she's pushing so hard for early dismissal. The competitor's transcript underscores how once depositions and cross-examinations start, controlling the narrative gets much harder. Judges often resist dismissing big cases on technicalities, especially if the lawsuit is high profile. They fear an appeals court might overturn their ruling. So if Baldoni's complaint has enough detail suggesting wrongdoing on Blake's part, a judge might let the case proceed to discovery. That's precisely what Blake seems desperate to avoid if you believe her critics. If the court denies Blake's motion to dismiss, we'll likely see depositions from key players, including co-stars or even the New York Times reporters who might reveal how they received info. The competitor's coverage speculates that other cast members could share if they witnessed any real harassment or if they saw Blake pull strings to shape the film's direction. On the flip side, if the judge buys her arguments, she'll walk away with the case tossed and potentially force Baldoni to cover her mounting legal bills. Given all this complexity, the real reason behind Blake Lively's surprising request might be a mix of strategic legal protection and a desire to hush deeper controversies. She touts California's sexual harassment safeguards, positioning herself as a victim fighting for free speech. Yet the competitor's transcript strongly suggests she aims to keep potential bombshell evidence sealed away. Is it all a genuine stand for survivors' rights, or is it a cunning maneuver to dodge accountability? In the end, the ultimate judge, both literally and figuratively, will be the federal court. If it rules that the lawsuit has enough teeth to proceed, Blake might have to face the full glare of discovery, revealing whether her claims are truly righteous or cunningly orchestrated. For now, her motion to dismiss stands as a dramatic chess move in a showdown that's far from over. Hollywood can't tear its eyes away. Everyone wants to see if she'll succeed in cutting the lawsuit short, or if Justin Baldoni will get his day in court, unveiling what he calls the truth behind her false accusations. Either way, the real reason behind Blake Lively's surprising request in Justin Baldoni's lawsuit might be more layered than she's letting on. As new filings pour in and more contradictory statements surface, the story just keeps evolving, and viewers are left wondering which side will emerge victorious once the final gavel falls.